fan on?
No, not yet. I think I'll be fine. What Brenda was talking about is you said something last month about not really, preparing, trying not to make it what we want it and perfect and everything, because he's going to give it to us. Well, I'm one that kind of likes to have I really like it to flow in the direction I want it to go. And I've known what I was going to talk about today for 2 months, 3 months, just about. And it has not come together at all. And last night I tried to make it come together, and it continued to just not work. And finally he sat there and he told me, he was like, stop it and trust me and quit doubting me. So today is what it is, because he told me this is and so yes, we were kind of joking about it, because I was like, you jinxed me on this. Like, no. Anyway, so today's lesson is about doubt. And it's something that we all struggle with. We know that. From the littlest things to the biggest things. So many times we'll sit here and somebody will tell you, okay, well, they'll give you this little plan of, this is how we want this to work. So do it like this and it's going to work, right? And in your head, you're sitting here going, yeah, I don't know. That just really doesn't sound like it's going to work, but whatever. Okay. Your common sense is telling you, yeah, that's not really, I just don't think so. Then we have those moments where we doubt ourselves. Can we really do what we're being asked to do? And that's something that I do definitely struggle with this, because I'm like, can I really do this? And then we start to doubt, are we hearing God right? Like, did he really say that? Or am I hearing him at all? Or is the thoughts that are going through my head right now, is that me? Like, you get it, and then you could get that little piece of doubt that says, no, maybe not. Maybe you're not hearing this right. And then you go to something like really, really big. So a lot of times we get in this situation where it just keeps going. It goes on and on and on. And it doesn't seem like it's ever going to go away. So then you get into the really big doubt. You sit here and you start to think, is my problem really big enough? Like, am I making it bigger than what it actually is? Is it just not big enough for him to really deal with? Or you start to go, well, maybe I'm not being loud enough. Maybe God's not even listening to me, And then that's when that really ugly doubt creeps in, that you sit here and go, maybe I just don't even matter. Like, I don't matter to him. So, at some point in our lives, we've all done this. We've all dealt with some form of doubt. So we're going to look at doubt. We're going to see what this is. Because doubt is one of our greatest distractions. The moment that tiny little piece of doubt comes in, all of a sudden, it is so easy to get completely sidetracked and so distracted from what you're needing to deal with. Because you doubt just that one little piece of doubt. And you totally go away from it. But where does that start? So where does that doubt start? So I've had to look at it and go, Jennifer, why do you doubt some of this stuff? And I think a lot of it starts with discontentment. You get to this place where you're just not really not really happy with where you're at. You think maybe you should be further along in whatever it is you're doing. Maybe, think you just don't like right here. So all this discontentment just starts to creep in. You're just like, yeah, I want this. Like, this is where I want to be. I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. So then that doubt will start to creep in on you. Because that discontentment, it'll cause you to start mumbling. And in one of my devotionals, I read this quote, because usually this is where I get my stuff. I'll read one little thing in a devotional, or I'll hear a song or whatever, and all of a sudden this whole thing will come. And this is what happened here. So I read this thing in one of my devotionals that I do, and it says, mumbling rattles the chains of hell to join you in a chorus of self-pity and feelings of betrayal. And I went, oh, like that went really deep on what just that little bit of, I just really don't want to be right here, will do to you. So that grows. So then that causes your faith to stumble, because that's when you kind of start doubting God. You start doubting just everything, because that starts making you think maybe God's not quite as powerful as you think he is, or as he says he is, because you look at everything around you and you think, well, why would he let these things happen? He's powerful enough to stop it. But because of that one little piece of doubt for this, it snowballs. It just grows. And it grows and it grows and it grows until that doubt says, yeah, he's just not that powerful. And that's a really bad, ugly place to get. But what I've found as I go through this is it's really not a bad thing to have doubt. Doubt is very common. It's a very common human experience. We are human. I mean, we were built that there's going to be stuff that we doubt. I mean, it's just inherent that we're going to do this. And if you look, there's a lot of people in the Bible that doubted. We all know Doubting Thomas. I mean, that's like one of the, biggest ones. We all know. Thomas doubted that the resurrection actually happened because he wasn't there. He didn't, he wasn't one of the first ones to see. He didn't. So he doubted it. So, John 20, 24 through 29, looks at that. It says, now Thomas, one of the 12, called the twin, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples had told him, we have seen the Lord. But he said to them, unless I see his hands, the marks of the nails, and the place that my finger, and I can place my finger into the mark of the nails, and place my hand into his side, I will not believe. Well, 8 days later, his disciples were inside again, and Thomas was with them. And although the doors were locked, Jesus came, stood among them, and said, peace be with you. And then he said to Thomas, put your finger here. See my hands. Put out your hand and place it in my side. Do not disbelieve, but believe. See, Thomas needed that proof. He had that little piece of doubt. Even though they were telling him that this had happened, he had just that little piece of doubt that said, did it really? I know that he said he was coming back, but did he really? He needed that proof. Well, then, we look over in Matthew 11, verses 2 and 3. We look at John the Baptist. So, John the Baptist is in prison. He hears about the deeds of Christ. Well, he sends word to his disciples because he has just this small little piece of doubt. He needs to know for sure that the one that has come is the Messiah. Like, he needs to have a little bit of proof. Well, we know that Jesus answered them when they came to him and said, go and tell him. And then I got to thinking about this one. I was like, what about Peter when he stepped out of that boat? Most times we look at Peter in that situation, and so much of it tends to go with his focus. He took his focus off of God. If we focus on God, then we're okay. And that's usually what we look at. But what made him take his focus away? There had to be just that little piece of doubt that crept up and said, I can't do this. Like this, I can't walk across this, I can't make it too. And that's what made him take his focus off. Just that little bitty piece of doubt. So doubt itself, when you really think about it, doubt itself is not sinful. It all has to do with how we respond to that doubt. And we have to really look at, God completely understands it. I mean, we have the choice. Do we let that doubt keep growing? Or do we grab a hold of it and go, okay, God, here it is. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm struggling with. Take it, help me. Because he understands our weaknesses, and he wants us to bring it to him. Like he wants us to bring everything, every piece of doubt we have, he wants us to give it to him and let him deal with it. Because he will. When we don't do that, we have this persistent doubt going on. And that's where it kind of gets bad, because that persistent doubt, that's what hinders our faith. So, while God is very patient with us and he wants us to bring everything to him, he also warns us that if we continue to let it grow, if we continue to let that doubt sit and grow and keep going, that it will make us unstable. James 1, 6 through 8 says, but let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea that is driven and tossed by the wind. For that person must not suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all of his ways. So, where the persistent doubt and disbelief weakens our faith, but if we can trust God through our uncertainties, that is what's going to build our spiritual maturity. Because again, God invites us to give him everything. He invites honest questions. So how often you hear, it's not our place to ask why or anything else. We're not supposed to question God. We're just supposed to trust. But that's kind of a false statement, because he doesn't condemn us for asking questions. As long as we have sincere, heartfelt questions that we are wanting to fix and wanting his guidance for, he welcomes that. And he'll take that and use it to strengthen our faith. Still in James, just before what I just got through reading, so if James 1, verse 5, says, any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach. It will be given. So he wants that. He doesn't condemn us for asking questions. He's not going to. He wants us to bring those questions to him. We look at Mark 9, 22 through 26. We have the father who cried out for healing for his son. before he cried out for that healing, so we start in 22, it says, and it would, Jesus is asking him, like, what is happening to his son? And he's telling him, says, he's had this since childhood. It's often cast him into fire and into water. But if you can do anything, have compassion and help us. So he has that little bit of doubt. But he's still trusting enough that he's bringing that doubt to God and saying, if you can, fix it. Well, God didn't rebuke him. He didn't condemn him for that, for having just that little piece of doubt, or for questioning whether or not he could actually do it. He granted it. He responded with complete compassion and healing. He healed his son. He healed that child. So Jesus, he meets us right there where we are, right in the middle of our doubt. See, instead of condemning Thomas when he doubted the resurrection, he met him right there and said, give me your hand. Place your hands. Here's mine. See the scars. Place your hand in my side. Never condemned him, but he met him exactly where he was. And he gave him grace. Because if we can learn to take our doubts, take our questioning, and be open, be honest with how we're feeling, that's where our faith grows. Our faith grows through that trust, through that experience of giving him our honest, heartfelt, I'm not real sure, God, but here, can you? Please do. And if we can see, if we can look and see his faithfulness in just the tiniest of little things, then our confidence is going to grow. And it's going to get stronger. See, Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. So, just that tiny little piece of doubt, we'll give it to him immediately. Then we will start to grow a little stronger. So, I have some more scriptures. Again, Mark 9:24. If you're dealing with a little bit of disbelief, that's a good one to kind of look at. When you need some courage to trust, look at Isaiah 41:10. His presence is the antidote to doubt. He promises that he will hold you up with his righteous right hand. Proverbs 3:5 and 6. I don't think I marked that one. No, I'm mistaken. So if you're dealing with future uncertainty, and for me right now, that's a good one because he's got me in a place of not really knowing what's fixing to happen. So this is one that I definitely have to try to hold on to. It says, let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man.
Which one's that?
I started a little early. I started in 3. Because I have the whole thing marked. 5 and 6 is the big part of it. But I started in 3. Proverbs 3 and 3. So then you hit 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. So like I said, right now that's a place where I'm having to stand because I have no idea what's coming. in the situation that I'm dealing with. And then James 1:6, when you're just dealing with overwhelming doubt. Anchor yourself in his promises, not your feelings, not your circumstances. And then when you need peace about a situation, about some doubts that you feel, Philippians 4:6-7, and I'm going to read this out of the Message because it kind of really hit just a little different. It says, don't fret or worry. Instead of worrying, pray. Let petitions and praises shape your worries into prayer, letting God know your concerns. Before you know it, a sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. It's wonderful what happens when Christ displaces worry at the center of your life. When I read that this morning, that just hit me a lot different than the way it did in my regular translation.
Jennifer, what was that again?
Philippians 4:6-7.
6.
So, I meant to have a demonstration. I forgot to bring it because I was in a hurry. But this is what to close this. So as we move forward into the new year, everybody always makes New Year's resolutions. Nobody ever keeps them. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. We don't keep them. None of us do. I have yet to ever keep a New Year's resolution that I have made. But instead of New Year's resolutions, I think we just go into it with a new mindset. Try to get in a place where you don't doubt quite as much. You don't worry quite as much. But if you do, remember, look back at everything in your life. I mean, just take a look back. There's always going to be the obvious things that you know that was God. And that tells you immediately, don't doubt him because he's going to do it. But then there's always those other things that were, at the time, not quite so obvious. But when you sit down and you start to worry and you look back on it, then you get to go, oh, well, okay. There's no way that I did that. That was not me. That had to be God. Even though I didn't see it at the moment, that had to be him. Remember to rejoice through the struggle, because nobody ever said life was going to be easy. He never promised us ease. He promised us trouble. And we're going to face many struggles before we walk in the blessings that he has. And then, like James 1:2 tells us, count it all joy. Because joy is not dependent on our circumstance. It's not dependent on our feelings. Joy is the byproduct of living in God's presence. And joy can be experienced in a palace, but it can also be experienced in a prison. So, the demonstration I meant to have, I was to look at it like this. If you look at it like this. So you have your doubts and your worries, and this would be cooler if we had the little demonstration. But again, I forgot. Look at your doubts and your worries like bubbles. So, when you sit there and play with your grandkids, you blow the bubbles. Doubt and worry is like those bubbles rising. The second that those doubts and worries are exposed to the joy of the Lord, to his presence, poof, they pop. Because he gets rid of them. Then he replaces them with hope and praise. So, when we sit here and we play with the bubbles and we watch and then they pop, because the kids pop them. Think of your doubt and worry just like that. Just that little bubble that pops. Grab a hold to him, sit in his presence, and let him pop it.